Good afternoon. Cordially greet you, Matthew Fallacosta, a dear semester student of the Financial Engineer program at the Pilot University of Colombia. I have called for a debate about the eradication of poverty in Somalia, a debate to be held with my classmate as well, dear semester student of the Financial Engineer program of the Pilot University of Colombia. They are Ms. Mariana Yarit Salinas and Mr. Juan Alejandro Ruiz Perez. Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation. The pleasure is mine.
Hi, good afternoon. I am pleased to be together with you today.
Okay. How will we know and those who have not heard waiting for you? Somalia is a country located in the so-called Horn of Africa, east of the African continent. After a long civil war, the country was divided into small independent states, without the power to take govern it in its entirety. The Somali Civil War is an interstate warfare in Somalia dating back to 1991. The conflict caused destabilization and instability throughout the country, with the current phase of the conflict witnessing the Somali government losing substantial control of the state to the forced rebels. After several conversations between the leaders of the conflict, a new instance of dialogue took place in Nairobi in 2002, bringing together the GNT and the Somali Council for Reconciliation and Restoration (CSRR), former be the warlords. In 2004, they decided to form a parliament with the representation of the different clans to elect a new president for a transitional period of 5 years. Consequently, on October 10, Abdullahi Yusuf Ahmed was appointed chairman of a transitional federal government (TFG). In this year, different factions reached an agreement to form a transitional government unifying the country. But what change has the conflict has recently? That is why we have invited Mr. Ronnie to comment a little on the subject.
Of course, Matteo. For 2006 to 2009, the Ethiopian National Defense Force was involved the conflict. The African government declared a state of emergency in June 2009, requesting immediate international support and military intervention for neighboring its Africa state, which led in 2012 to the approval of the new provisional constitution that will govern the entire unified country. It is considered a flip state of various media, or more uniformly fragile state, its capital and most populated city, Mogadishu. As result, the Somalia economy, despite not having a national government, Somalia have emitting a spur informal economy based mainly on livestock, the transfer and remittance of funds, the telecommunication, agriculture of the stranger sector, and livestock represent both 40% of GDP and more than 50% of export.
Perfect, Ronnie. You can tell us about Somalia, Najari.
Somalia is one of the poorest countries on the planet with relatively few natural resources. Most of the economy was devastated in the civil war. A large part of its population is nomadic or semi-nomadic and live by raising camels, bananas, are another important export product. Sugar, sugar, corn, and fish are produced only for the domestic market. According to the International Monetary Fund, the Somalia authorities continue to take important steps in building their state and maintaining political and economic stability. However, it believed that Somalia remains fragile and vulnerable to security and climate crises. For the international financial institution, while the underlying growth momentum is solid, supported by an improvement in confidence given the consistent implementation of reform, drought conditions threaten agricultural performance and have promising warning of severe food insecurity. Formal economic growth has yet to spread outside of Mogadishu and some regional areas. Watching the city insecurity is an issue that worries businessmen. Somalia retains an informal economy based primarily on livestock, remittance, money transfer business, and telecommunication. The government of Somalia links the capacity to collect internal revenue.
Thank you, Nayari. Indeed, for the World Bank, years of conflict and fragility have left Somalia's economy with a lot of change, including population growth, outpacing economic growth, acute poverty and vulnerability, recurrent foreign trade, and crisis climatic. That entity details that fiscal space and weak institutions, active insurgency, and incomplete political agreement have also affected the country's economic strength, leaving it with the worst economy in the world. Somalia is in a state of pre-famine in a serious food situation. The population faces bouts of severe drought and violence from armed groups, in conditions similar to those of the 2011 famine that killed more than 250,000. Artisans are unable to keep up with their deployment capacity. Only what organization contributed to the basic needs supplements in the region?
Are there are foundations that have been present in Somalia since 1992, with teams across the country. Part of some programs of the group are IMED, emergency nutritional assistance, as well as super in water and sanitation, especially growth the distribution to water. The priority continues to be the strengthening of nutritional programs for children. Under fine and pregnant and lactating women, hard work is being done on the detection and treatment of malnutrition for 30,000 people to cover the basic final needs to respond to the humanitarian emergency affecting the Horn of Africa region. An estimate or 17 million euros. They are prepared to provide assistance to 200,000 people for which an intervention that will only be possible if conditions of security are guaranteed for population and humanitarian actors in a context of chronic violence that only exacerbated the situation.
Please give us an example.
Okay, for example, Um, the price for water have quadrupled. 200 liters for water have gone for cost of $5 to $20. The depletion of water occurs and hygiene conditions for water diseases such diarrhea or cholera, which can cause dehydration and death. Detecting quarantine of death in this singleton in some place continues coordinate to drink water through to access water, but their records are desperately scarce.
Okay, Ronnie. Najari, put us in a better way with respect to the main problems of so-called horror on Africa.
Mateo informed you that one of the main problems is poverty in Somalia. Solutions are needed on land and international support for the reconstruction of the country. A lasting solution to poverty can only consist of the recreation of a Somali state viable, capable of providing essential services throughout the country to reduce poverty and create opportunities. The complexity and volatility of local politics will also need to be recognized in shaping the means to deliver better health, education, nutrition, and other services to Somalis, and especially to those living in areas of ripened poverty. The solution to poverty in Somalia is of a political nature beyond its firepower and economic resources. The international community can and must assess Somalia in Geraldine knowledge about how local dynamics, the rulers of power, shape the norms for the exchange of resources, how clan and sub-clan relations influence and ultimate the extent to which they determine the stability of national politics to find solution to the problem of piracy.
New that you mentioned it, Nayarit. How about the high price of piracy? As stated by the World Bank in one of the most detailed studies of the cost of piracy in Somalia at the international and regional level. Given its magnitude, geographical extension and level of violences that have generated considerable public concern around the world, piracy costs the global economy approximately US$18 billion a year in aggregate business costs, and amounts that dwarf the approximately US$53 million that since 2005 as ransoms average.
Let me add sometimes, please, Mateo. Pricing has not only posed a huge tribute on world trading in general terms, but has seriously affected the economic activity of neighboring countries. Since 2006, its African countries have experienced a sharp decline in tourist arrivals and fish production. Since the rise in pirate activity experienced in its African burgeoning tourism sector has grown 25% slower than in other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Similarly, and comparing the other regions, export of fishery products from countries affected by piracy have decreased by 23.8% since 2006, partly due to reduce production. Total tuna catches in the Western Indian Ocean have been reduced by 26.8% due to the relocation of fleets to safer fishing grounds. Somalia itself has suffered considerably from the impact of piracy. It is estimated that the added costs have cost the country youth 6 million per year. This figure does not take into account the fact that Somalia will not be able to develop or expand its maritime trade and fisheries resources as long foreigners are allowed to operate in the waters. In terms of human costs, the balance of Somalian foreigners has been the capture of up to 3,741 from members of 125 different nationalities with periods of deprivation of liberty of up to 1178 days at least 97 Celsius could have lost of their lives during attacks in seclusion, died to prone treatment, or in the course of rescue operations. On the Somalia Sea, the price spread has also been high. Hundreds of parents are believed to have died at sea.
But in that order of ideas, what should be the approach in the fighting against piracy?
The current approach to fighting pirates needs to change. The global cause of pirates and the another reason payments to pirates offer a powerful reason for international support for Somalia police currently in place on land. And said to crack down on Somalia, pirates are ineffective or probably unsustainable. The purpose of growth such as local economic development or land enforcement initiatives is to deter young Somalis from becoming pirates by increasing the attractiveness of alternative jobs or by committing to learning playing penalties. James, in case of capture, where the pirates will limit meet with several or to offerting heading weights to a port on many points Somali teenagers and young people so that they risk being captured or killed at sea with heavy armed naval patrol and improved security of board commercial vessels are considered to account for the plague in pre-race in 2011 and 2012. These measures are only effective as long as they continue to apply.
Thanks Nayarit and Ronnie. We have seen how the internal conflict in Somalia has developed throughout history, which has the sector in a deep economic abyss, apparently with no way out, but what consequences this scenario leaves us in general? Consequences of poverty in Somalia.
Okay, despite the drought climate that plagued the region, there is a major food and heat crisis, losing crops and livestock, condemning millions of Somalians to extreme poverty. or other consequence, the dominance of the rebels is notorious in the Cape province of the region without being able to overthrow the government. An additional consequence, the UN have repeatedly condemned the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, a group that joins Al-Qaeda, a group that joined in mid the 2012 for violating international humanitarian law on several occasions for attacking the headquarters of safe organization in Somalia and several humanitarian missions managed in the Horn of Africa.
At the local level, the economy and the internal struggle in the claims the power struggle creates an ideal scenario for Al-Shabaab to recruit jihadists and the insecurity in the country remains. So the ideal is humanitarian intervention that guarantees the establishment of the solution through reconciliation between the clans to an internal struggle. On the other hand, the resumption of talks between the Somalia government and the unrecognized nation of Somaliland to end their difference with the sole objective of providing stability in the region by beginning to strengthen reconciliation and trust between these two regions.
The situation of migrants in Somalia and in Libya is critical as its inhabitants fly to avoid exposing themselves to a large number of risks, such as trafficking, human trafficking, disappearance and kidnappings, abuse, arrests, and torture, etc. Because displaces persons tracking matrix DTM, the International Organization for Migration IOM has periodically followed the situation where there are currently more than 660,000 migrants in Libya, and to it could be close to 1 million.
It should be noted that, faced with these migration problems, the EU has intervened directly in Somalia, managing the necessary documentation to deliver exit visas in Somalia quickly, thus avoiding diplomatic setback between the two countries.
In Somalia, families who have been displaced by violence, and especially the most vulnerable people, face numerous health problems. The lack of basic resources, such as drink water, have general case of highly infectious diseases as diarrhea and scabies, especially in the campus of people displaced by their overcrowding. Also, because of this, the Somalia Red Cross runs 36 health centers in southern and central Somalia, which are supervised by the ICRC. These health centers offer free primary health care program in the areas of material and maternal, and child help, outpatients care and curative service. Six of these health center and outreach service have been established of Mogadishu in the Afghani and their area for displaced people who are victims of the conflict.
In addition to the lack of rain, the increase in displacement caused by the conflict and the withdrawal of international troops have created additional humanitarian challenges. More than 5,000 people have been displaced in the Iran and Bakul regions, while another 29,000 have been driven from their homes in the lower Shabelle. The transitional federal institutions were created. The transitional federal government officially seized the executive power of the nation and used the FP to take over the legislative power. The government was headed with the president of Somalia to while cabinet activities were reported to the prime minister. However, this was common to refer to the three powers of the nation as one.
Due to the lack of economy and human resources and the arms embargo made it difficult to reestablish the security force, coupled with international indifference, President Yusuf was forced to display his troops from Puntland to Mogadishu to fight against the insurgent armies in the southern part of the country. Financing for the movement was provided by the government of the one autonomous regions. This led to minimal security gains for Finland as it was much more vulnerable to hacking and terrorist attacks. Two, with the help of a small number of African Union troops, the government coalition behind a counter-offensive in February 2009 to take full control of the southern part of the country. To solidify its power, the TFG formed an alliance with the Union of Islam Cartoons other members of the arts and Anlu Sunan Walhaman, a modern Sufi militia Furthermore, Al Shabaab, and the Hezbollah Islam group, the major opposition Islam groups, started a fight among themselves in May 2009.
Somalia's coalition government have enacted a host of political reform since it took power in 2009, emphasizing transparency and accountability. One of the first signs was to ensure that all government agencies, which have been distributed throughout numerous regions in the country, were not based in Mogadishu, the national capital. The to this, the central bank of Somalia will also relocate and reestablish, and a national plan was launched, as well as an effective anti-corruption commission, which today have not yielded results. At the rescue of federal authority, the United Nations Security Council unanimously passes Resolution 2083 or March 6, 2013, to suspend the 21 years embargo imposed on Somalia. The also punishment of the kids. The official approval led to the purchase of firearms for 1 year. However, there is still some restriction on the trade in long-range weapons, which were abolished in 2014.
That said, we can cite that it is very ambitious to intervene in the violent state of Somalia, where the rise of those involved should not be violated but making them rigorously comply with their duties, enjoy a model of coexistence without compromises in the world, coupling the region with the world economy, ensuring a sustainable model that eradicates poverty in Somalia.
Mr. Mateo, the serious alteration that failed state produce in the center of the international system are mainly due to altering its foundation. The system revolves around the priority of a sovereign state that exercises the monopoly of force and fulfills its international obligation will allow Somalia to maintain legal relations based on the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, which had collapsed before the need for intervention and excessive use force. But failed states are characterized uh, precisely by the disappearance of their political organization, an indispensable condition for their prior international legal recognition were to push the dilemma of whether the failed states can continue to be protected by the system it lives, that is by the UN special tools of sovereignty and no intervention, since it would be false to admit that lets in parties their sovereign equality vis-a-vis the other states, it would be null.
Okay, what can we conclude about crime in Somalia, Nayarit?
So far, the disproportionate increase in organized crime committed of the coast of Somalia in waters under its sovereignty or jurisdiction as eroding international interests in the situation that country is going through, unanimously described as a failed state. It is obvious that this phenomenon of organized crime is one more consequence, among others, of the situation of failure of the Somalia state. The case of Somalia offers us the possibility of evaluating the debate of the notion of this country. It should be noted that the disappearance of the political organization or government, which is in charge of fulfilling the functions of the state in the internal and international order, leads a region the poverty which the no possibility of improvement in its economy and quality of life. Faced with this inability of Somalia, protection by human rights and the EU in its urgent effort in relation to this, the role that internal armed conflicts play as the main circumstance leading to situations of failure in also verified. However, the mechanisms for reviewing the status of failed state are inappropriate, so a new institution structure must be started, which is served in the face of illegal acts and guarantee the safety of the population, which is practically vulnerable. Avoiding that only limits in self-stability and strengthening Somalia without altering the formulation and practice of sovereignty and territorial integrity, shielding the region from a new threat aiming at the definite progress of society.
A definitive solution to the extreme poverty of Somalia is the development of the Strait and the Route. The Great project promoted by China, which aims to form a set of maritime and rail links between China and Europe, passing through Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, and Poland to finish in Germany. France and the United Kingdom. It was proposed in the 2013 by China's President Xi Jinping, who liked it in the cement Eurasian trade route in North and Silky Road. This route will also pass through the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, in addition of the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, so it will interfere in the waters with Somalia separating, having said that the Chinese government must provide maritime security in their sector, thus completely ending piracy. Having to transport aircraft of this type will generate the construction of ports in Somalia that provides stopover service to any team of ships, so China will invest in the aforementioned unit infrastructure, forcing the local government to give up on territorial control in exchange of well-being of the population through the pact of agreement between the nations involved, leading to China having to install a military base from which it can provide security to the Horn of Africa, protecting its investments and increasing productivity in Somalia through local labor force. So long, guys.